better.
I got good news and I got bad news.
What's the bad news, man?
Well, the good news is that Skip Bayless is wrong. We can all take solace anytime Skip Bayless is wrong. The bad news, however, is he's wrong because Baker Mayfield did not lead the Carolina Panthers to a win in week one as they fell to the Cleveland Browns 26-24 in a game that was very indicative of week one football in the NFL. And it's funny, the whole time I'm watching this game, I'm thinking, oh man, it sucks to be right. Because the game was going exactly how you and I, 2 weeks ago, said it would go. The Panthers would not be able to stop the run, and the offensive line would not be able to protect Baker Mayfield, and that was going to be the story of a close defensive game. And that was it. Until you remember back when they stopped doing this in like Madden 17. They still do it sometimes. You'll be beating the hell out of a team, and then suddenly their quarterback goes into like fourth quarter robo quarterback mode. That was Baker Mayfield today.
Yeah. He
was awful, and then suddenly he wasn't. And the Carolina Panthers had a chance to win. They had actually taken the lead. We'll talk about that particular lead in a minute, but they had actually taken the lead, and then essentially Cleveland has to drive within field goal range with a minute to play with no timeouts with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. You like your chances there, right?
Right.
You love your chances.
Right.
But a phantom roughing the passer call gives them 15 yards, and then a complete gaming of the system on what should have been an intentional grounding was not called. And then their kicker hits a 58-yard field goal to win the game. Possibly one of the worst ways you could lose, any game, but especially week one to a team that has not won in week one in forever. They haven't won a week one on the road since 1993.
Wow.
Boy, yeah.
Wow. Hey, good stat pull up.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Osman.
Lot to dissect for this game. There's a lot to talk about. So I know you're angry. You're the angriest Black fan today. How are you feeling, Jamal?
You look at the first half, and the first half looked pretty hopeless. Outside of a late drive in the second quarter, man. And if we would have just got our ass kicked today, let's just say the Panthers just completely got outplayed, and we lost 26-7 today, I would not be here this angry. I would be numb. I would just say to myself, you know what? Same old Panthers. You know what? The offense is still dysfunctional. You know what? We still can't stop the run, blah, blah, blah. I would be a lot more mellow down today. You know why I'm not, though? Because I hate losing games this way. There's nothing more frustrating than losing a game this way. I want to be fair because I always want to be fair, and I always want to be objective. If the Panthers get out to a better start, we don't have this discussion, okay? If the Panthers, if we could stop the Browns on third down at any point during the damn game, we probably don't have the discussion. We're probably talking about a Panthers victory today. If Nick Chubb doesn't run for 470 yards, we probably are talking about a Panthers victory today. But the defense struggled, which is kind of surprising. I knew the run defense would struggle. Did I expect J.C. Horn to struggle? No. Did I expect C.J. Henderson, who's an 8-year vet in this league, to commit such a dumb penalty to give up essentially a touchdown? No, didn't see that one coming. So all these things, you say to yourself, you don't leave the game in the hands of the guys in the white stripes. The Panthers did that. For a coach that's so big on DBO, don't beat ourselves, we beat ourselves the entire game, and it came back to bite us in the ass because we left it up to these. And you know what? I'm gonna chill before I say something that will get us banned from YouTube. Let me stop right there.
Yeah. So it's hard to look at the game as a whole, especially when it came down to essentially a few plays near the end. But I feel like the Panthers' game plan going in was terrible. The game plan that worked in the second half was what? Sell out to stop the run, make Jacoby Brissett. I could have lived with Jacoby Brissett going off for 300 yards and Nick Chubb having 50 yards. I could have lived with that.
And Kaiser, let me cut you off. When you know what they're going to do almost every down, you know where the ball is going every down. And you know what's funny? Kaiser? And I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, man, but but you know what's funny? It's like in a strange way, it's like you almost got to give credit to this damn coaching staff for making an adjustment in the second half. You know what I mean? It's like, where was all of this in the first half? Where was these adjustments? Where was the game plan that was so well executed in the second half? Where was it in the first half?
I think the defense struggled as a whole because they allowed the run game to dominate.
Right.
If you're a defensive player, I mean, your job is to get a stop, right? But now you got to play a guessing game every down because you're not necessarily in a coverage that's going to set the box. And the Panthers didn't stack the box the entire first half, okay?
Right.
Now you're thinking, if you're safety, do I need to cheat to move up to stop Nick Chubb, or do I need to sit back in coverage? Or that's why it would have been better for the Panthers to just be simple. I mean, I would take my chances with Jacoby Brissett a million times over than allowing Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to run over the entire team. And we saw in the second half. I remember I made a comment in our group chat. The game is over. Expect to see 500 straight runs from Cleveland.
Right.
But they didn't do that. They tried, but the Panthers started stacking the box. They were overloading the gaps, and they were able to get stops against the run game. And it's like, why the hell didn't you guys do that?
Kaiser, you know why you're 100% correct. I'm going to give you a stat that's going to back you up 100%. You know who led the team in tackles today? Xavier Woods. What do we always say about safeties that lead the team in tackles?
Right.
It is never a good thing when your safety leads the team in tackles because the running backs are ultimately getting to the third level.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's even more funny about that is most of those tackles came in the first half.
Yep.
So when they made the adjustments, you start noticing Frankie Louvu, Brian Burns, Shaq Thompson were getting more so in on those tackles in the second half. So those stats back you up what you're saying. Where was this in the first half? Look, credit to the staff for making the adjustments, but you shouldn't have had to make the adjustments if you had the right game plan in the first half.
Exactly. Cleveland's game plan wasn't going to be super complex. It was going to be run Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt until everybody passes out from exhaustion. That was their game plan. And, it essentially worked because they were – but the thing is – and we saw that. Remember that used to be the Panthers' game plan back in the day, like just run the ball, and control the clock.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you run the risk of a low-scoring game, and that's what happened with Cleveland. They weren't able to put touchdowns on the board. They had to settle for field goals, and the Panthers almost came back and won. Let me flip to the other side of the ball because I feel like a lot of people are going to look at this game and say it was the defense's fault, but it was not. It was not. The offense should have put up 30 damn points this damn game. And I know people are going to be like, Cleveland's got a great defense. They didn't look that hot in the second half.
Kaiser, copy and paste what I just wrote and apply that to the offense. Where was this in the first half?
Let me ask you this. I'm not an NFL head coach, so I'm not going to pretend like I am. Okay. But I think in the Genius coaching manual, nowhere does it say to leave your rookie tackle one-on-one against the premier pass rusher in the NFL. Nowhere does it say that.
Kaiser.
It says to help him. Chip block, slide protection, double teams. How many times did Myles Garrett get double teamed today?
Maybe in the second half when he had when the sacks and the pressure start mounting up, that's when they started. Let's make the adjustments after the sacks. That was the game plan for the Panthers. Kaiser, probably damn near a month ago, we sat here on this show when we were previewing the season. We said, "Hey man, Ike Konwu, he's gonna have his welcome to the NFL moment. Week 1. Matt Rule better help him out. You better chip block. You better slide protection. Blah blah blah."
You gotta see. This is college shit.
It's college
because in college, I think that a lot of times it's difficult to game plan a single player out because against a really good teams in college are good because all their players are good, right?
And listen, let's be clear. You got Jadeveon Clowney, who made his impact on the other end. They have a good defensive line, period. You know what I mean? So let's be fair about that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think you could have done more against Myles Garrett. A chip block here or there, have Ian Thomas go out and chip block. I mean,
right.
You gotta say, okay, let's do whatever we can to make it hard for this guy. If you put 3 defender or a double team and a chip block on Myles Garrett and he still gets by, hey,
hats off to him. Hats off to him.
Even that. He was just running by Icky. I mean, it's crazy, and I do want to address this.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And then there's this.
Isn't it amazing that we came back when they decided, I forgot we had this guy we paying a quadrillion dollars a year to. Shoot.
I forgot we have White Marshall Faulk. Let's actually use him.
Let's actually use him. I get it. To be fair, one of the criticisms all off season was that we ran Christian McCaffrey into the ground, which the Panthers have done his first 3 seasons. They showed a stat during the game. Did not miss a single game the first 3 seasons, but led the league in touches. And then the last 3 seasons or 2 seasons, injuries. So, but at the same time, I mean, you can't bubble wrap the guy. And when they ran it, I mean, it opened up things for the offense. I think part of the problem was that the Panthers were like, we're going to come out and we're going to be pass heavy and against a team with Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney.
Cosby, does that make any sense? You know that you're going to struggle with the Cleveland Browns pass. You know that's going to be trouble. To mitigate that, you dump it off to 22. The game, it's simple.
I'm not an NFL coach. I'm not a college coach. I'm not a coach. I don't know. So maybe he knew something. Maybe he knew something I know. What I do know is that, and I don't go to the practices. Like training camp, I watch the practices, but I don't go. We're not allowed to see practices.
Right.
So, do they practice snapping the ball to the quarterback in practice? Somebody in the comments. Do they practice like the center snapping to the quarterback? I just figure that's something they practice.
I don't know if I've ever seen 4 fumbled snaps in the NFL game before. I don't know if I've ever seen it before. And one of them almost caused everybody to have a heart attack when we were down there in red zone trying to score.
I would have rather that had happened than how the game ended. Because we can say, the Panthers fucking shot themselves in the foot because they fumbled the snap and Baker Mayfield's trash and blah 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 blah. But we can't even say that now. So
Kaiser, let me tell you a story, man. I'm gonna Joshua, that is hilarious. Kaiser, it's story time, y'all. So I went outside today, man. I was taking my dog out, and it was sunny, and I was like, "Wow, man! The weatherman was wrong, and it's a sunny day." And I felt myself getting excited. I was like, "Man, we get to watch some football today." Blah blah blah. And I remembered that God hates Charlotte, and I have to watch the game in almost a calm state. Like I can never get excited because I know something's around the corner. And right when we scored that touchdown, I was getting excited. Y'all, you saw me in the group chat. I'm like, yeah, let's effing go. We got this. And then what happens? I hate losing football games the way the Panthers lose football games. I will keep it at that.
I think the fumble snaps are because the O-line was getting their ass beat, and a lot of times fumble snaps are because the center is trying to get off the ball, quickly enough so he can get in his pass blocking stance. And I think the timing was just off a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't expect to see that moving forward, and better it happens week 1 than week 12 or something like that. So we got to talk about Matt Rule, okay? Now,
do we have to? Do we really have to?
I'm going to be fair. I don't think he did a terrible job. He just looked stupid on the sideline all game.
Per usual.
I've come to accept that's just what he looks like, okay? All right. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He just looks confused all of the time. But Wanda took the words right out of my mouth. The Panthers got too conservative, settling for 3 on that drive. Now, strategically, I wasn't mad at the play call because you run the ball, you then force Cleveland to take a timeout, and now Cleveland has to drive the field for a long field goal with no timeouts left with Jacoby Brissett.
With help.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. So strategically, I wasn't very upset at that call, but I just feel like we all know momentum in the NFL is a real thing.
Absolutely.
You have a chance to step on the other team's neck. You've been throwing the ball all damn game, and now on third,
let's run it up the middle. Hey, let's get our John Fox on and run draw plays until the clock runs down. Yeah.
Your quarterback is cooking.
Right.
Baker's confidence was on. You could see it. He was like, yeah, this is it. You let that man throw the damn ball in the end zone and get a touchdown. You be up 5 instead of 1.
I do have a but. Just maybe when he fumbled that snap, maybe they said, okay, hey.
I thought about that, but I mean, talk about killing your quarterback's confidence. Because the snap gets fumbled, and then you're like, "Hey, we're just gonna run the ball." That fumble snap to me was okay. You lost it down, but I mean, it's 3rd and goal. I mean, right. you went 70 yards down the field. You trying to tell me you can't get 10 more? You can't at least try? What's the worst thing that happens? Is that okay? Cleveland has another 20 seconds on the clock if you don't score, but you're still up 3, and now the defense got to play football. But what ended up happening was that you left the game to circumstance.
Yeah,
because you thought there's no way Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to drop 70 yards.
Okay, so that's a real nice way of saying it, man. You
left the game to circumstance, and then what happened was circumstance. First, a invisible roughing the passer call. Okay, I'll give him that because there was a roughing the passer call against Carolina or against Cleveland early in the game, which was iffy. Okay, the drive, he drove Baker Mayfield to the ground. Okay, but so there was the phantom roughing the passer call, but then the fake snap to snap that's an intentional grounding.
That's an intentional grounding.
He was not ready for the snap. He took the snap. He took a step and then he snapped it. That's intentional grounding. And the fact that we all know it's intentional grounding because the refs had to discuss it. If they wouldn't have had to discuss it if they weren't sure about it. But then they were like, okay, it's not intentional grounding. All right, so now, they're in, it was a long field goal, and, much props to their kicker, Cade York, for making a phenomenal field goal with no wind. Of all the times for it to not be windy in downtown,
right.
You can't even walk properly down the sidewalk.
It's been monsooning all damn weekend, and today it's just perfect for NFL kickers. Let's go figure.
Yeah, and so I mean, but that's circumstance. You could have iced the game, because I don't really think there's any way that Cleveland would have scored a touchdown on that final drive, which is what they would have needed to win the game if you had scored a touchdown yourself on the other end.
And where was Rue? And why didn't Rue try to ice the kicker? Why was there no timeout called?
Yeah, you can't take him with you, bro. I guess he thought, okay, if he makes this, then that gives us 8 seconds with the timeout.
Can't do anything in 8 seconds, man.
Yeah, I'm not even using the timeout. So yeah, why don't you ice the kicker? Speaking of timeouts, controversial call. It's 4th and goal. Cleveland decides to go for it. Somebody on the Panthers sideline, probably
says,
let's call
a timeout.
Cleveland changes their mind and decides to kick the field goal.
Which was the difference in the game?
With that call, I'm not. In hindsight, it looks bad. I'm not sure that was necessarily a terrible call, though. What do you think?
So here's the thing, man. There is context to it. On the surface, I agree with you. Like on the surface, it looks bad, but here's what we need to think about. When I say we, I mean people who are not on the coaching staff. They may have saw a coverage that they didn't like, and which is, I don't have a problem with that, because if you see a coverage you don't like and Cleveland goes and scores a touchdown, we're not even talking about any circumstances at this point, because the game's out of reach. So I'm not really mad at that. But if they just call them the damn timeout just to call one, it's like, come on, dude.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't like the look. And you know what? The reason Cleveland probably decided to go for it was because they liked the look.
Right.
They saw the they couldn't see the coverage, but they could see the personnel and thought, "Ooh, that's favorable for us."
Yeah,
go for it. And then Matt Rule's like, "Okay, hold up." Obviously they see something, but that really didn't decide the game. What ended up deciding the game was the poor first half play. Not stacking the box. Giving Cleveland's offense too many options by not selling out to stop the run.
Right.
And then of course I just feel like the management at the end of the game was very poor. And you know what? That's something that Matt Rule should know by. This is 3rd season. He should know.
We should be past this by now, man.
Yeah. In that situation, you go. I bet Cleveland would have gone for the touchdown.
Right.
I mean, also, okay, J.C. Horn was terrible this game.
He was. He had a bad day.
I'm gonna cut him some slack. This is essentially his rookie season all over again. Amari Cooper is not an easy cover.
Right, no doubt.
And the Panthers played a fair bit of man coverage today.
And not to mention he's coming off a foot injury. Let's not forget that.
Which there's this psychological barrier I'm sure he has to get through. I'll give him a little bit of slack, only because I don't think that the secondary play was necessarily the reason that we lost. Although CJ Henderson, I need you ever watch Coach 30? He does I know you've seen him on Facebook and Instagram. He does like the coach film ssessions.
Oh yeah.
I need him to do one on that CJ Henderson pass interference play.
I'll do it.
Yeah. That was a terrible play. I ended up deciding the game.
No, I want to talk about that some more, man, because again, man, we're talking about an NFL veteran who should be past that as well. Look, turn around. Like I don't look. I know at some point he wasn't looking at the ball. Here's what I do know about every DB: you turn around, you give yourself a chance to at least get the.
Plus, he had safety help. Safety ended up making the interception that didn't count, but he lost the ball and decided to make a play on the receiver, but which it normally that might not necessarily be a bad thing, but in the end zone, that's a terrible thing because now you essentially
give up a touchdown.
You gifted them a touchdown. Yeah, that was a tough one because Cleveland doesn't score a touchdown, I don't think, but if not for a passing touchdown anyway.
And look, and Joshua brings up a good point that I made a couple of weeks ago, man. We were making comparisons when Baker Mayfield played in Cleveland versus what he's going to, kind of face in Charlotte. Baker Mayfield had a way better offensive line in Cleveland, and we saw. I mean, the O-line. I'm not going to say they were dominant, but they damn sure gave Jacoby Brissett enough time to be effective. You know what I mean? If Jacoby Brissett played for the Panthers, it would have been a blowout.
Yeah, I'll say this: if Deshaun Watson had been on the other side of the field, then
goodness. Look, Cleveland left 14 points on the board in the first half, and if another quarterback makes those throws, this conversation.
They were down 2 right tackles. Their starting and their backup right tackles did not play today, and we couldn't capitalize.
Must be nice to have depth, man. Wow,
I'm still not sold on Phil Snow. I just think it's odd that Joe Brady. I'm not going to say he fell on the sword because he probably deserved to get fired. But Phil Snow has come out unscathed, which to me screams of that's Matt Rule's guy. Phil Snow's Matt Rule's guy.
Right.
So I'm still not convinced with some of the defensive play calls he makes. I think he felt like he thought, okay, we can beat Brissett in coverage rather than blitzing him, which for some quarterbacks, that is absolutely the case. The problem is that if you give any NFL quarterback that much time to throw, they're going to find the open guy.
And they're going to get comfortable. They're going to get comfortable doing it, importantly.
3 comments here in a row, all address the same thing. Do you think we're too small on the line? Are any of our defensive linemen starting caliber outside Brian Burns? And thoughts on Derek Brown?
Swagner, you brought me to a good point that I was going to make next, man. So in our chat, our brother Rodney, he's on the Derek Brown is a bust train. And I'm not on the train, but I'm knocking at the door like, hey, y'all got any room?
I'm at the ticket thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, one ticket.
Like I'm kind of late and I'm kind of like just catching the door. I'm not in there yet. Derek Brown, man, he's got to make himself a presence. He's got to do a lot more, and he left a lot to be desired today. Nick Chubb didn't look. Nick Chubb is not necessarily what do you call it? A north-south guy. He's an east-west guy. He ran it straight up the gut, and Derek Brown didn't make his presence felt at all. I
don't know what it is. I have not. To be fair, I didn't watch any film on or all 22 on Derek Brown last season. I probably won't this season because I just feel like with his potential and his size, he should be better than he is. I can't tell what it is.
Kaiser, let me make this real simple for you. We're not film guys. We leave that to Kevin Avery. We're not film guys, okay? But I'm gonna keep this real simple. We should hear his name more. I'm gonna keep it that simple, dude. He's not. One thing that I'm very sure of. He's not getting that initial push up front. It's always the linebackers or the safeties that have to come in and help out on the run, man. You barely see us.
The tackle, you either gotta disrupt the line,
right?
Initial burst,
not being done,
or you got to plug the gaps. That's or make it so where the offensive tackles cannot maintain gap discipline and open up the lanes for your linebackers. You've got to do one of those 2 things, and Derek Brown does neither.
He does neither.
I can't tell what he's doing. I'm looking, and it's like he's just getting pushed out of the way. And
listen, it doesn't make any sense that we heard Bravion Roy's name more than we did Derek Brown's name today. That doesn't jive well with me at all, man. Sorry.
I feel like the I don't want to pin this on the defense though. I feel like the defense played okay, and they would have played better with a better game plan. Okay,
right.
But the offense, I felt like had a okay game plan, but they just didn't execute. I mean, they should have used McCaffrey more in the first half. But if you don't muff those 2 2 snaps in the first half or throw the dumbest interception ever, then your game plan is fine. They just did not execute well. Baker was running for his life every damn play.
And Kaiser, real quick, man, if you can highlight Toby Taylor's comment real quick. He's asking, is it the DT or the MLB? It's both. And let me explain why, man. It's kind of when you have weaknesses at defensive tackle and middle linebacker, it's obviously a recipe for a bad run defense, and that's simply what you're seeing. You know what I mean? The push is not coming up front, and you're not getting them at the second level. So what does that leave you? That leaves you with Xavier Rhodes having to make 10 tackles.
If the run defense was going to continue to be this bad, I would have just rather kept Hassan Reddick and have him and Brian Burns
just get the quarterback
on the field. But now we don't have either. We don't have the outside pass rush. We have no push up the middle.
And I'm going to tell you something that I kind of noticed in the second half, which was, I guess is an adjustment. I noticed Brian Burns was he was trying to help out on the run a little more. This is after Chubb got 1,000,000 yards on us. But I noticed Brian Burns kind of stopped pinning his ears back so much and kind of wanted to get in on the interior and kind of helped. And he got a few tackles, on Chubb in the second half, man. But the thing is, it's kind of unfair to kind of lean on Brian Burns to do that more often. That should be Derek Brown and that should be Bravion Roy.
You want your pass rushers to pass rush.
Right.
And then seal the outside to stop outside runs and to stop quarterback scrambles. If Burns has to run these backside stunts to try and stop the run from behind, he shouldn't have to do that. I
thought I was the only one that noticed that, man.
Yeah, it was our safety is about to have 200 tackles each this year. They're both going to make the Pro Bowl. They're going to make the Pro Bowl because the rest of the defense is so bad.
Jeremy
let's talk stats here. Baker Mayfield went 15 for 26, 238 yards, a touch, and a pick. How do you rate? Give him a number grade.
Well, look, man, before I do that, I actually do want to have a lengthier discussion about Baker Mayfield before I do that. And I'm glad you brought him up, man. And here's a question I want to ask you and everybody else on the chat. So Baker Mayfield, man, there were a lot of miscues in the first half. He threw the interception, which I still don't know who the hell he was trying to throw the ball to. I guess Shot Smith, man. But, there was the fumble snaps, and there was just the offense looked raggedy. I mean, it looked dysfunctional. You know what I mean? And you kept hearing the commentators say, oh, Baker Mayfield, he's so calm. I've never seen Baker Mayfield this calm before. His demeanor is blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's cool, man. Calm Baker Mayfield ain't getting it done. I need fire for Baker Mayfield back. And you notice in the second half, when they finally decided to wake up, that demeanor wasn't so calm anymore. It was the Baker Mayfield that I guess we're used to seeing. And I just kind of wanted to know y'all thoughts on that, man.
I just feel we wanted fiery Baker Mayfield. I think that was one of the reasons we brought him over from Cleveland, and we didn't get that. We got this hold on, my ESPN tab is but we got this kind of
Zen mode.
All right, so I'm gonna back up to a boxing analogy because I love boxing, but I don't know if you guys remember 20 years ago when Mike Tyson fought Lennox Lewis.
Yeah.
And we were kind of he was Mike Tyson for one round, and he was I'm tired of being Mike Tyson. And then he got beat up. That was Baker. And then Mike Tyson was it was the antidepressants, of the drugs, whatever.
Hey, listen, I remember when Mike Tyson came out to no music, I said, Mike Tyson's done. This is not the Mike Tyson I know, man. That was kind of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was kind of like Mike Tyson not coming out to music. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
right, yeah.
I don't want Zen mode Baker Mayfield. But to answer your question, man, as far as a grade goes for Baker Mayfield, I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably being generous, man, but I'll go B-, and that's probably being generous, honestly, because I do like the adjustments he made in the second half, and I do like the way he played in the second half, man.
So both Chris and Rodney are alluding to the fact that Um, preseason. There weren't a lot of reps to go around. There was a shorter preseason.
Yeah.
And then there was a quarterback controversy. Do you think that had anything to do with Baker's performance this week?
I don't know. I can't answer that, man, because I'm if you look around the league and somebody else is lighting it up, man. I mean, they had the same issues. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I can really use it as an excuse. I will say I think we all can agree that there was never really any controversy, and I think Baker Mayfield knew that. You know what I mean? He was treated essentially like the starter the entire preseason. Yeah. He got snaps like a starter would. He got his dress rehearsal like a starter would. So I don't know, man. I'm going to lean towards no. I don't think it would matter that much, man. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
These guys are pros. I expect them to be ready to play. Coming out, I do think with Baker, he's got to learn the offense. He's got to get the timing of his receivers down. He's got to be able to get snaps from the center. I think a shortened preseason and then sharing, reps with Sam Darnold and PJ Walker may have contributed to that some actually. But I felt once he got his rhythm going, and I honestly, it all starts with the offensive line. If the offensive line plays better, then Baker Mayfield is going to play better. But I think
absolutely.
Having to scramble literally every play and run for your life and improvise to make plays,
that's an adjustment.
You have to make that adjustment, and he did, and he was able to play well in the second half. That interception was unforgivable, though. I don't know what.
It was a horrible throw. It was that simple, man. It was a horrible throw, man. That simple, man.
Yeah, so Jamal, I'm gonna agree. I think Baker Mayfield learned a lesson this week. He's like, okay, all right, I see what I got to do in order to go out and play well. I think he was trying to be too calm, trying to be too collected. Cleveland came out hype. They came out ready to play football. The Panthers, there was no energy. It was a home game. First of all, it was like only half of us in the stands. Cleveland came out with like this fiery energy, and I was expecting Baker Mayfield to bring that to the team, and he wasn't able to. So offensive MVP, who you got? This is an easy one.
Robbie Anderson. Yeah. I mean,
2 yards, touchdown, 75-yard catch. The irony, right?
The irony. Right.
Everyone else played terribly. I don't think McCaffrey played terribly, but he didn't get a lot of touches. He just didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he had
until it was too late.
Touchdown. Yeah. He had 4 catches for 24 yards. I expect to see more McCaffrey going forward. I feel like with Christian McCaffrey, at this point, if he gets injured, then he gets injured. You got
whatever. Right? Yeah, I just don't think you can think like that. Like if you know what I mean. If you got the guy, you got to use him, and that may be surprising, for us to say, being that we've been on the hey, don't wear McCaffrey to the ground train. But at this point, man, like, dude, if you're going up against a defensive juggernaut, but a good defensive team like the Browns, you got to use all your weapons, man. And McCaffrey's obviously the best one to use. So
and there's balance. He don't have to have 30 touches a game like he was getting his first 3 seasons.
But there's nothing wrong with having 18. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's balance there. So yeah, not if, but when CMC gets hurt. First of all, actually, everybody gets hurt in the NFL. Everybody. It's just the severity of the injury and how that affects them. And CMC's injuries has been, fairly severe. Johnny Hecker, what I say in the group chat.
The exact same thing.
Yeah, he was. That was a really good pickup. That actually the playing the field position game kept the game within reach. Let's see, defensive MVP.
You know what? I feel like there shouldn't be anybody to really get defensive MVP, but by default, man, I'll probably say, I don't know. I'll probably go with I'm actually going to go with Brian Burns because Xavier Woods had the 10 tackles, but I think Brian Burns' play in the second half was more impactful. I think he got the here I go. Here's my blood pressure going high again. He actually got to Jacoby Brissett to a play that should have sealed the damn game, but was called otherwise. And I thought Brian Burns getting to Brissett so much in the second half made a big difference, man. So I'll go with Burns.
Yeah, Burns is I think would be a good pick. I think you could also make a case for Xavier Woods. Led the team in tackles. He was wherever the ball was. He only had 2 solo tackles, but he was all over the place, and had a pass defense. Damian Wilson had a tackle for a loss, a QB hit.
Yeah, played a good game. He played a good game.
He played a pretty good game.
Yeah.
So did y'all see the look on Eddie Pinheiro's face late in the game? Boy, he was scared. He was so mad that Matt Rule didn't go for the touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Pinheiro had this look on his face like, please don't let me have to kick this ball. Just score, please. I don't want to be putting it. And you can tell he was relieved because after he made the field goal, man, he celebrated like we won.
Yeah, he was happy. Yeah. Oh boy. All right. There's really nothing else to say about this stupid ass game.
That's exactly what it was. It was a dumbass game.
Right. Stupid ass game. Boy, yeah. Okay, but here's the thing. Next week, we play the New York Giants in New York or Jersey, wherever the hell they playing.
Whatever they play.
Right now, the Panthers are favored to win that game. Almost 2-1. Yeah. How you feel about that game? ESPN has us as a 60% chance to win. Now that will change throughout the week.
But let me tell you this. Look, you don't have to tell me this. I already know. Games are not won on paper. I know that. On paper, the Giants are terrible. They are really bad on paper, especially their defense. They lost a lot of guys from last season, man. They are getting Saquon Barkley back on the offensive end, which is something that we should be concerned, being that Nick Chubb ran all over us today.
Yeah, watch. This is going to be Saquon's get right game.
It's going to be the get right game. You know what I mean? But if we can survive Saquon's get right game, I think we can have some success scoring on the Giants, especially with Christian McCaffrey back. If we play the way we did in the second half the entire game and not wait until it's too late, if we play the way we did in the second half the entire game against the Giants, we should be victorious. Now, I know I'm probably going to regret this, but I actually do feel good about the Panthers next week. I'm going to pick us 24-14 next week.
So next week, I think, is a bigger litmus test than this week.
I agree. Totally agree.
Because we thought that they would lose to Cleveland in a close defensive game, and that's for the most part what it was, except for some shenanigans near the end.
Right.
But the Giants are bad. Now, even though for some strange reason ESPN has predicted that the Giants would be better than the Panthers, but I don't think that's true.
I don't buy that. I don't.
If you cannot beat the New York Giants, then you are trash, and you should just tank the rest of the season. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I have a James Bouknight injury. Like you just magically one day, I'm injured. This. How the fuck that happen, right?
Hey, look, I tell you what, if we lose next week, I'm going to start the Drake May to the Panthers train. Like, I'm going to be the driver of that train if we lose next week.
Actually, man, you know what, though? I mean, Lamar Jackson is a free agent next season. And I'm just saying, I mean...
Hey, look! If not anything else, Dave Tepper he's proven that he will swing for the fences to try to get his
all the money to Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
So I mean, this wasn't going to be a topic of discussion, but you want Lamar Jackson or Drake May?
That's the easy choice for me, boy. I'm going Lamar. I'm sorry, man. I'm going with the
I go Lamar Jackson. Yeah,
because I'm tired of this franchise spinning their wheels and what ifs. You know what I mean? I'll go with the proven commodity, man. At this point,
absolutely, absolutely. So, I think the Panthers will win next week. I'm going to say 21. Say 21-13. We were almost right on our score predictions for last week. I think we were like 20-17, 20 and 40, something like that.
Yeah, we were not too far off.
We were almost right.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So we're actually going to switch to the oldest professional sports franchise in Charlotte,
who still don't have a backup point guard.
We're going to talk about the Hornets a little bit because there's something that happened last week that we did not address because we didn't do a show last week. But nothing else happened. Nobody was shot. Nobody went to jail. Nobody sold some bricks on the corner.
No new porn stars to date, as far as we know.
Nothing, yep. Yeah. There was a report that came out. I'm gonna even say it's not even a rumor. Enough sources, people that we know, sources that we're close to, have confirmed this, that LaMelo Ball's camp, whoever that may be. When they say a player's camp, I'm like, who does that like? What does that mean? But his camp, and this came right after, like 5 minutes after the Donovan Mitchell trade.
Right.
His camp,
which is ironic.
Right. Yeah. His camp came out and said that LaMelo Ball was not happy with the direction of the team. Does that mean anything?
It could. And quite honestly, it could mean something. But on the flip side, what we have not confirmed is exactly who the camp is. Because if the camp is his daddy, then I don't give a damn. I couldn't care less. Now, if his camp is his agent, that's a different story. He can have a little more influence on LaMelo in that aspect. You know what I mean? I forget the name of LaMelo's agent. I wish Danny Thompson was on so he could tell me, man. But whoever this agent may be, man, he may push for LaMelo not only to go to another team, but to kind of get his money off the court. He may want LaMelo to kind of be. Remember when Cam Newton said, "Hey, I want to be an icon." Right. LaMelo's agent may want to push for LaMelo to be that same dude in LA, New York, or whatever bigger market is. We don't know that, but it would be a concern in that aspect. However, on the flip side of that, LaMelo Ball himself has always been pretty consistent, at least to this point. He doesn't believe in joining super teams. He believes in staying with one team and trying to, change things around with one franchise. He's seen, as far as what has come from LaMelo himself up until this point, he seems to not have any problems with the Charlotte Hornets. So there may be a fine line between his camp and what he thinks, and that's what we're not really sure of yet, man. So we'll see, man. It could be a big deal, but until it is, maybe
not. My thing is, so if I'm LaMelo Ball, then yeah, I'm probably not too happy with the way the offseason has gone with a coaching change. Maybe LaMelo isn't as receptive to the coaching change as we thought he would.
Right.
And essentially no offseason moves. No major offseason moves being made.
But guess what? But guess what? if he really wants to blame somebody for the Hornets not making offseason moves, he might want to have a conversation with his boy.
I was just about to say that. Miles Bridges threw in the Hornets offseason. He didn't completely throw the wrench. I'm not gonna say that because I think that Kenny Atkinson may have also thrown a little bit
to do with that too. Yeah,
a little bit to do with that as well. But Miles Bridges, essentially that situation has had to freeze really what the Hornets want to do. And my question is, what is the expectation? If you're in LaMelo Ball, what do you expect the Hornets to do this offseason? Did he really expect the Hornets to get Donovan Mitchell, especially with this thing looming over Miles Bridges?
Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
So I don't know what the expectation is, and I guess if you're a player, a star player, and you're unhappy with the direction of your team, you've got to go to the team and say, "Hey, here's what I expected, and here's what I'm not getting." So Chris says to improve the team, but yeah, every team in the league wants to improve, right? If it was that easy, the teams would just do it. You would just improve the team,
right?
You have to. I think the expectation, there has to be a specific expectation. If the expectation is, hey, get me a damn center, or get me someone like Donovan Mitchell or get me another superstar to play with, then that's different. If that's the expectation and the Hornets have not delivered, then yeah, you have to be unhappy. But if the expectation is to do what stay the course or trust the process or whatever saying there is, because I feel like if it hadn't been for the Miles Bridges thing, nobody would have anything bad to say about this offseason. I feel like we did well, although people are unhappy about trading Jalen Duren, but I think Mark Williams that was a pretty good pick. We have we have a center now. We expected Miles Bridges to make a big leap. Guys like Book Knight, Kai Jones, JT Thor are going to get more time. I think people were happy about the slight trajectory that the Hornets were making. And now that we don't have Miles Bridges, we're losing 20 points a game. And now everyone's like, well, Miles Bridges is gone, so the Hornets have to do something. Well, unfortunately, the Miles Bridges situation is why they can't do anything. Like, what are they supposed to do?
So, two things, Kaza. I want to ask you this question. And quite honestly, I think this is a fair question to ask. Have the Charlotte Hornets coddled Miles Bridges too much with this situation in this offseason? Have they made his space a little too safe? Is that a fair question? What do you think about
that? The Charlotte Hornets want the Miles Bridges thing to go away. I mean, because there's not an easy answer for this. First of all, if you just say, you know what, regardless of what happens in the court of law, we just feel like, based on our own investigation, which I would hope the Charlotte Hornets have done, that they felt like, well, Miles Bridges is not, someone of his character is not someone we'd want on the team.
Right.
Go. But you really just can't do that. You can't let a growing franchise player who other teams will jump on immediately. You just can't just let him go. Okay. You cannot just trade him, because teams do not want to trade for Miles Bridges because they don't know what's going to happen with his legal situation. They're in a holding pattern. Yes, Chris is right. It's not going to go away, but you really can't make a move based around Miles Bridges until the thing happens. And I do think him getting a continuance on that trial is
it's a sign of a good thing in terms of getting it over with.
Yes, I think the hope here, and one of our friends has also expressed, is that they're hoping that Miles and his wife can kind of reconcile on the side and take care of it outside of the court of law. Now, although in California, the prosecution has to be the one to drop charges, the accuser or the victim cannot drop charges. But that would go a long way if they were able to reconcile. Now, technically, Miles isn't under contract with Charlotte Hornets, though. That is correct, but he cannot sign
anywhere else. Right. They still have his rights, so to speak. Right. Yeah.
So yes, he's not contracted to play under us right now because he hasn't signed an extension, but he can't go anywhere else unless they decide to trade him. So it's an iffy situation. Would I have, me personally, I would have liked it if they had just traded the whole damn team for Donovan Mitchell. I'm happy with that. Trade everybody. You got LaMelo Ball, Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt, and everybody else is just there. But obviously that's not a move they wanted to make, and we didn't make any major moves to get better. So our star player is not happy.
Yeah, and oh God, it's such a complicated situation, man. So I guess the next question I have, man, is once this Miles Bridges situation gets rectified, however it gets rectified, man. I mean, to me, there's only one move to make, and that's just to get a backup point guard. There's not a lot of money under the salary cap, whether we sign Miles Bridges to a lot of money or whatever. There's just not going to be a lot of money there, man. And so to me, it's not room to swing for the fences anyway. So
yeah, the last show we did, we talked about them possibly signing Elfrid Payton, which wouldn't be a terrible move, honestly. I think it'd be a fine move. But that was like 3 weeks ago, man.
And things change in a heartbeat.
Yeah, like we haven't done. We need a backup point guard.
And look, and just to throw this out there, I'm scrolling on Twitter and I'm seeing Isaiah Thomas kind of repost a video of him teaching LaMelo Ball something. It was like, hey, yeah, I'm here to help the young bull out, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't want to take too much from
it. Ago was still coach. Isaiah Thomas would have a spot on the team.
I don't want to take too much from a tweet, but it looks like he wants to be back to me. You know what I mean? So I hope they don't overcomplicate this, man. I'm just like, just bring IT back, man. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that.
I think this is a Clifford move. I don't think Clifford wants Isaiah Thomas. He doesn't like
small guards, right? He likes tall point guards.
Like MCU, yep, let's call MCU up, miss some layups. Yeah, I don't think he likes. I'm not gonna say he doesn't like Thomas, but yeah, I don't. I just not. Isaiah Thomas doesn't really fit in what we've seen with a Steve Clifford backup point guard,
right?
Situation. So speaking of star player, although I feel like fans in Charlotte, people are gonna come for my head for this. I think we overestimate LaMelo Ball's star power. Okay, however, the NBA 2K23 came out last week, and so the ratings came out. And LaMelo Ball was at 87.
87, yeah.
Also at 87, Jaylen Brown. So there was a lot of discussion about should LaMelo Ball be at 87? Should he have the same rating as Jaylen Brown? Or is Jaylen Brown rated too lowly? Your thoughts on that in general? Like did LaMelo get like a star, like some star treatment there with his rating?
No, he doesn't deserve that yet. And I know his fans will come for my head and they'll say I'm hating and all this other stuff. And I'm sure his fans want him to be rated a 98. Yeah, I'm sure.
People felt like he should have been reading like Facebook comments. A lot of people felt like he should have been in the 90s.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Listen, if you are rated in the 90s, you have made such an impact on your team that you put your team in the conversation. LaMelo Ball has not put the Hornets in the conversation. Now, is that coming down on LaMelo Ball? No, it's not. It's no shade to LaMelo Ball. Eventually, LaMelo Ball will be that player. Hell, I'm hoping he starts taking a step to become that player next season, honestly, but he's not there yet. I reserve the 90s for real difference makers, for games that you got a game plan around. LaMelo Ball, not quite there yet, man. You know what I mean? And I feel the same way about Anthony Edwards, just to throw it out there. Just so I don't want people to think I'm some LaMelo Ball hater, which I'm far from it, man. He's going to get there. He's not there yet, in my opinion. And as far as like him being close to Jaylen Brown, I see that, because I want you to think about it in this aspect. Replace Jaylen Brown with LaMelo Ball, like switch them on teams. It'll be about the same thing, quite honestly. So I agree with that.
I'm okay with 87 rating. I think anywhere from 80, like 85, 86, 87 would have been appropriate for LaMelo Ball. 90, no, 90 is way too high.
Yeah.
But I think by the end of this season, he could be in the 90 club. 90, regardless of how the Hornet season goes as a whole, I think LaMelo Ball would take that next step.
I tell you what, he's going to have to play at a 90 rating for the Hornets to, have a shot at being in the damn playoffs. So we better hope he plays like a 90.
Yeah. He's got to. And like Chris says, Jaylen Brown's played big in big games.
Right.
That's a big difference. Now LaMelo Ball, the two biggest games he's had in his career,
he's wet the bed. Let's be clear.
And those weren't even really like that big games, playing games.
Yeah.
So he's got a way to go before I think you could switch him and Jaylen Brown, but as far as a rating in 2K, I think Jaylen Brown is probably like closer to like an 88 or 89.
That's fair.
Swagner has a hot take before we go. Hornets have a better chance of making the playoffs this season than the Panthers do. No.
I'm going to wait till after next week to really.
No, because it's easier to make the playoffs in the NFL now with an extra game and an extra playoff slot. So you can be like the third wild card now and make the playoffs. So, whereas the Hornets have to contend with a much tougher Eastern Conference, in which the perception is that a lot of those teams got better. Teams like Cleveland, Cleveland looks a lot better on paper. Atlanta looks like they're going to be better. So, the Hornets, I think, are going to have a tougher road to the playoffs than the Panthers do. Charlotte FC has a better shot at playoffs than both. Isn't Charlotte FC like mathematically eliminated?
They won yesterday. I don't know if that matters or not, but we'll have to check to see if they're officially out or not. Because I think they lost 4 in a row before last night. So
last one, because I do want to get everyone's comments before we go.
Yeah.
What about Dennis Schroeder as backup point guard?
I would love Dennis Schroeder as a backup point guard. I just don't know how realistic it is. But let me say this. Like, if you asked me 6 months ago, what I would have told you is that I don't know if we have enough money to pay Dennis Schroeder, because I think Dennis Schroeder kind of thinks he deserves around $10 million. Now, at this point, since his rate is probably dropping by the day, it would probably be a more realistic scenario for us to talk to Dennis Schroeder at this point. So with that being said, yeah, hell yeah, sign me up for Dennis Schroeder as a backup point guard all day. Absolutely.
I think Dennis Schroeder probably also still feels like he's a starter.
Yeah, no doubt.
League. I mean, it was just
last season with the previous season.
Right, the previous season he started all 62 games in that short season. But does he want to come here and back up someone like LaMelo Ball? No one's going to be talking about Dennis Schroeder if he comes here, and that's why you need a guy like Isaiah Thomas.
Right, absolutely.
Is essentially resigned to his fate as a backup point guard in the NBA, and he wants to impart his knowledge on people like LaMelo Ball. That's you can't ask for anything better from a backup point guard.
And don't discredit the fact that Boston traded Dennis Schroeder for Derek White last season, and I think there was a lot behind that. I personally believe Dennis Schroeder probably made a bit of a ruckus in the locker room because of his role on that team, man. So don't disregard that fact as well.
Yeah, I think he'd be. I mean, I'd love to see him in a Hornets uniform, but I think there's got to be a reason why the Hornets haven't gone after him.
Yeah,
and so that's probably.
All in all, Isaiah is the best fit in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can always bring Kemba back to put fans in the seats.
Yeah, but I don't know about Kemba. I love me some Kemba, but I don't know about Kemba's knees at this point.
I think you think his knees can't do 12 minutes a night.
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
That's what Tony Parker used to do when he played for us.
We'll take that, right?
We'll see. I don't know.
Shout out.
They need to sign somebody.
Somebody, please. Good. I swear to God, I don't want to see.
What MCU, Chris? You cursed us, bro. Watch Michael Carter Williams.
Hey, Chris, man, Chris. I'm not a tough guy at all. I'm too old to be fighting. If we sign Michael Carter Williams, I'm coming to find you because this is your fault. If we sign Michael Carter Williams who can't hit a damn layup, man, I sorry, can't do it, man.
Yeah.
No.
I just got this feeling, Clifford might want to go with what he knows.
Alfred Payton, here we come.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I mean,
Shout out.
interesting season. LaMelo's going to hate it. But you know what? He's a restricted free agent, so it doesn't matter.
There you go.
Doesn't matter. Okay. You got any shout-outs? Shout-outs?
I damn sure have a shout at today, but I'm going to start with a closing remark. It's not really a shout out, but a closing remark. I want to reiterate this new love I have for WNBA basketball. And I don't know where it came from, to tell you the honest to God truth, man. But I started getting, I'm going to say, reinterested, because I used to watch it and then I kind of fell off watching it. But this season, I've kind of taken a real liking to it, man. I want to tell, especially the fellas, for whatever reason, I don't want to get into that discussion, man. But I just want to tell everybody, like, it is a really good product. And if you like basketball, you know, you're kind of missing out if you're not watching it, man. It was a damn good game today during an NFL game, which probably nobody's going to care about, to be quite honestly. But it was a damn good game on today between the Sun and the Aces, and the Aces pulled it out. Asia Wilson is a baller. Like, this girl could really play, y'all. And that's the thing. These girls simply are highly skilled players who can play the game of basketball, and you kind of just keep it at that. If you're one of those guys who say, "Oh man, you know, I'll watch if they lower the rim so they can dunk," don't bother. It's not for you, okay? And I'm not trying to force anything on anybody. What I am simply saying is there's a good product that I feel like I am really, really enjoying, and if you want to if you want to try it out for yourself, I urge you to do so. I will keep it at that. Now for my shout at. NFL referees, you suck at life and you suck at your jobs. And I do not like losing games the way that the Panthers lost today. We have already gone into full discussion about how the Panthers could have helped themselves instead of beat themselves today. But damn it, they did not need the referees' help today. I'm so sick. That's all I got today, bro.
Yeah. This one's gonna sting. I do gotta hear what Skip Bayless has to say tomorrow. But today is September 11th, and it's odd because as time goes on, the meaning of this day it changes drastically. Like my kids, none of my 5 kids were alive September 11th, 2001. So to them, it's like this weird thing in history that happened, and they don't understand
the gravity of it.
Right. The post 9/11 politics to me are far more interesting than the pre September 11th politics, because the world changed so much. So and I think a lot of time, I'm not going to say that it's not okay for us to just forget about things. I mean, we forgot about Pearl Harbor was like a million years ago, right?
Right.
For the longest time, that was like the biggest tragedy, at least for Americans on that scale. So I'll just say that it's okay for us to like look back and say about September 11th, like it doesn't have the same impact that it did right after it happened in the years after that. But sometimes it's good to not take things for granted, because we lost a lot of freedoms on September 11th for a lot of different reasons, from our own government using September 11th as a springboard to take certain freedoms away from us. I can't even, I'm on the TSA watch list. All right, real quick story. This is a real quick story, okay?
What?
Let's talk about how Kaiser Sose will always get pulled out of the line when I fly. So, some of you guys know I was in the military, and I was I did aircraft weapon systems in the military. And in the on fighter jets, one of the munitions we used to load is a cluster bomb, and cluster bombs have a lot of different safing pins in them. And a lot of times when we drop those bombs in combat, the safing pins, we get to keep those kind of souvenirs, because they don't need to use them. The bomb's gone, right? So there was a cluster bomb that actually we had dropped over the range in Las Vegas that my crew had loaded. And so I decided to keep the fuse safing pin and I keep it on my keychain. Actually, it looks like a regular keychain thing, but it's about that long. It's a thick metal pin. I mean, it's thick, and like you could like stab somebody in the eye with this thing. Okay, if you didn't know what it was, you'd be like, "What is that?" Keep it on my keychain. So one day, I was actually flying on business. I was flying to Indianapolis, and I just happened to have my keys in my pocket. Normally, I wouldn't have my keys in my pocket because I'm not driving anywhere. But I just happened to have my keys in my pocket. So I take them out and I put them in the little tray, and it goes through the X-ray thing, and then I'm waiting. I'm putting my shoes and stuff back on. I see the TSA agents like whispering to each other, right? And they're pointing at the X-ray screen. And then they're like, "Sir, this is your tray." Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Can you come over here?" Right? I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And they're like, "What is this?" And they hold up the pen. So here's the thing. First I say it's a safing pin, and they said a safing pin from what? So I'm not stupid enough to say for a bomb in the airport because I'm not trying to get shot or killed, right? So I said, it's a safing pin for an aircraft. And they go, "Well, what kind of aircraft?" And I say, "A military aircraft." So they walk away. They were like, "Stay right here." They walk away. They come back and they go, "Okay, this is contraband, and you cannot take this on a plane. You cannot take this metal pin on." Yeah. But there's you have two options. You can either surrender it to us and we throw it in the trash, or you can declare it and then we will mail it back to you. We'll mail it to your home and you get to keep it. So here's the thing. That pin had a little bit of sentimental value. I was out of the military at this point. I was not going to be able to get another CBU 105 safing pin from anywhere. So I said, "Well, I want to keep it. I want to declare it." And they were like, "Well, if you declare it, we have to call Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and the FAA, and you have to come and they have to sign paperwork and they have to take a police report." So I thought, just to mess with them, I was like, "You know what? Yeah, let's do it. I want to declare. Call everybody." And they did. They called the cops. The FAA came down. They took me in a little room. They asked me a bunch of questions. I had to fill out all kinds of paperwork. And then they charged me $35 to ship this pin back to my house. Fast forward a year later, I'm going on another business trip. I hand my boarding pass. They pull me out of the line. They, do all kinds of stuff. Every flight I took for years after that, I got pulled out of the line every time. I couldn't understand why. I had a cousin who was a TSA agent, and I said, "Hey, man." He's like, "I'll see what's going on." He called me up. He's like, "Hey, dude, what are you on the no-fly list for?" I'm like, "What? How am I on the no-fly list?" And it was because I declared. If you declare something and they take a police report, they put you on a TSA watch list for the rest of your life. Happy September 11th.
So won't be going to Vegas with you? Is that what you're saying?
No, we go. Chill. I'm gonna still fly. I'm gonna still get these in-flight drinks, bro.
That was awesome.
The world has changed. I think COVID is the new generational pivotal point. I wonder what it's going to be in another 20 years. So.
Hey, real quick before you go, man, Travis, I don't know if you're still on. I was having some trouble with our phone system today. Next week, I hope to have that up. Hopefully, we'll be in the studio next week as well. So just to tell everybody, man, I hope our phone thing is back up. So if you do want to call in next week, feel free to. And yeah, that's all we got this week.
You know what? Hey, real quick, I just had a moment of inspiration. Let's do something. I'm going to put a post on the Under Construction page on Facebook. If you do not follow that page, then what the hell? Right. Go ahead and follow that page on YouTube. I also might do this on YouTube, but we'll do a Q&A. Okay. Right. And then maybe we'll do a second show in the middle of the week, and we just address the Q&A that you guys have. Let me know what you guys think about that idea, so we get more interaction from you guys. We really love when you guys interact with us. That's why we still do this. So
no doubt, y'all. No doubt.
You guys have a good week, and we'll see you guys next Sunday.
So say I see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all. Peace.